The trial of Tamara, Lich, and Chris Barber is ongoing. We're all seeing what we now call lawfare. This is a new word that's been coming about. And it's hard to get updates because I haven't been able to follow the case so closely. So I invited someone in that has. PatriotSmoothie, as you're known online. Welcome to the show. How did you get yourself caught up in all of this, covering this daily now? You're making daily coverage, just talking about this case in particular and what's been going on.
Well, I guess it all really started back at the Freedom Convoy when I was just a protester, just like everybody else, going out on the street, and I'm still just like everyone else, but going out on the street, carrying a flag from time to time. Mostly it was a cart, giving out water and hand warmers to the homeless and anyone else who needed it. Just participating in a peaceful, lawful protest from my perspective as a person who was there almost every day, as someone who was born and raised in the city of Ottawa. And so we kept going. After the breakup of the convoy, I felt like there was still work to be done, that there was a big missing piece there, and slowly found other people here in the Ottawa area, a lot of stragglers who stayed around, people from Freedom Fighters Canada, like Jerome O'Sullivan, Freedom Train, other people, Jake Benoit, Chris Stacey, a whole host of people who still knew that there was work to be done and we could still maintain a presence here in Ottawa. And that was something that was good. We had the Rolling Thunder events sometime in April. Last year we had consistent events. We had the No Farmers, No Food event. So there was a lot of big events. The momentum kept going. And then I guess it got to the point where now we were faced with the fact that these trials were on the horizon, that they were here, and that the arrests back from the Freedom Convoy, the brutal arrests where people were beaten with the butt of rifles and just tragedy, horse tramplings, whatever you have to say about the Freedom Convoy honking and idling of fumes and smelling of things you don't like doesn't justify what we saw there. The largest public order maneuver in Canadian police history, and some of the most violent Canadian police maneuvering we've seen against a peaceful crowd. We can see examples of what violent protests look like every single day around this country and around the world. We saw it. We saw brawls in Brampton. We saw craziness. That didn't happen at the Freedom Convoy, but what did happen was people disagreed with the government. And so we saw the full weight of the state come down on them, and it was tragic. But fast forward a couple of years, and now here we are with the trial of these people, with the trial of Tamara Lich, the trial of Chris Barber, co-accused. So they are standing trial together. We have other ones coming up, Patrick King, James Bowder, Hilliard. We have a bunch of people coming in. And it just, for me, it was like I needed to get down there and see it. So I went down there for a day or two. My intention wasn't to continue going because I'm not one to sit and take a lot of notes and have to think for a long period of time and have to memorize so many details. I was just going to go check it out. But after the day or two, I realized that no, there's a need. There's an ability here for me that I can do something that I didn't think I could do fairly well, at least, and that people really appreciated it. So it was from there that I continued this journey. I did not think it was going to last 22 days. It was supposed to take 16. Mm-hmm. I'm told by more seasoned people that it's common for trials to go overestimate, but I really think in this case there's some exceptions that are causing that. We even had the Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh, today say that she believed that there was the release of the signal chats, this big thing that has been a point of contention for the defense, the prosecution, and the police, the signal chats between these police liaison team officers here in Ottawa during the convoy. They basically private messaging and note-taking app that they were using on encrypted signal. The disclosure of that as the trial was happening caused a delay. The judge admitted that today. So a tremendous amount of information to recall, a tremendous amount of things to go on, and it's requiring a patience that I didn't think I was capable of, both because of the amount of information and because of how frustrating it is to sit there and listen to the type of things that they're talking about, the way that the Crown is trying to paint this protest. Again, I'll go to another quote from Justice Perkins McVeigh today, where the Crown was basically saying something and the judge was like, no, this has not been a trial of Chris, because the Crown was basically saying it's only relevant if it applies to Chris and Tamara, and the judge basically came back and said loosely that this has not been a trial of Chris and Tamara. This is basically what we've heard. The evidence so far is the trial of the Freedom Convoy. She said that today. So I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wanted to introduce, so this is Patriot Smoothie on Twitter and also on YouTube. The links will be in the description down below. You can get your daily updates on everything that's happening, not just this 10-minute video. So if you want to get really in depth, I recommend everybody go over there. Links will be in the description down below. But I wanted to ask you, so where are we essentially with this trial? We all kind of know that it's, we're in a situation here where they're on trial essentially for the Freedom Convoy. It's not being, it's not fair what's happening to them, because they're bringing up potential crimes that other people have committed when it's not things that they
that's
themselves.
A good point.
Yeah, it's not things that they themselves had done. Now, a lot of people keep asking me, and a lot of people want to know, where are we at with this trial at this point? It's gone over now, and does it look like we're anywhere close to a conclusion in this?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't look like that at all. In fact, whenever I report that we've secured this date or that date, the next time we're in court, it seems like that date has disappeared, and now we're moving the schedule further down the road. I've heard discussion in this court about dates as far away as December 20th, December 21st, even discussion earlier than that of next year. So at this point, the fact that we haven't even concluded the Crown's case was supposed to take 10 days. We're now on day 22. It will be day 23 tomorrow on Friday. And the defense was supposed to get 6 days. The end of this trial is not in sight at this time at all. Where we are right now is in the middle of yet another legal argument that has consumed 2 days. It's consumed day 21 and day 22, and this legal argument is about a series of 4 emails and 1 document that are regarding a set of instructions that the Crown was to provide, that the defense asked for, basically because one of these officers that are testifying right now, Officer Nicole Bach, lost the contents of her phone to an update. So the defense requested the instructions she was given by the Ottawa police for that update and what steps she took to preserve that evidence. In response, the Crown provided them a series of 5 documents, let's call it, not an exact number, could be more, could be less, it's around there. And they're almost completely redacted with all kinds of different reasons, clearly irrelevant, solicitor-client privilege, and litigation privilege. So now we found ourselves over the last 2 days in the midst of heavy legal arguments about just trying to see what the content of these instructions are. There's no clear end in sight.
I think the court of public opinion would be putting our judicial system on trial in this whole case. I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking at this case going, it's pretty clear cut. I mean, it was a politically motivated charge to end the convoy. It was really, they wanted to take the leaders out and move on with it. But then all this time later, a year and a half later plus, and they're still pursuing this, and it just seems so unjust. What's the feeling like in the actual courtroom? Is there any cynicism with the other people that are sort of viewing this, or even the other lawyers that are engaging in this activity?
Well, everyone in the courtroom's been extraordinarily respectful, and I can imagine how difficult it might be for Chris or Tamara having to put their lives on pause for this, to pay tremendous, many thousands of dollars for this. Jeremy McKenzie said today a good quote, because I asked, I put a Twitter post out, what is the state of Canada, the justice system in Canada to you? And Jeremy McKenzie basically said, you're as innocent as you can afford to be. And isn't that the truth? It's very unfortunate, but Chris and Tamara have been dragged through the mud here. And it's hard to feel that anybody else in a similar circumstance charged with mischief and counseling mischief not committed, and the other 6 offenses, the 6 offenses total, the state would try this hard to get this. They would not do that. This is the largest, I believe, mischief trial in Canada. We had homicide detectives flying across the country to try and recover Tamara for breaching at one point. It's been a ridiculous road, and it's hard to imagine that anybody else would be put through this if they were anybody else in any other circumstance other than what could potentially be very politically motivated. And at the same time, when we're looking at the picture of a whole, it's really hard to see how this ends. It's really hard to see how it ends, and it's really hard to see how you could look at this and not feel discouraged about the state of justice in Canada. The one thing that brings me a little bit of peace is the fact that the presiding judge, Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh, has been so fair and so evidence and fact focused both towards the defense and towards the Crown that it gives me a little bit of hope back in our justice system. As towards the people in the courtroom, again, there's a pretty good element of professionalism. Everyone's got respect for the institution that is in there, because once you sit in there long enough, you understand that this is a process. It's ugly and it's dirty, but it has to play out. So I'm not sensing a lot of that cynicism or hostility or anything, but I'm sure it exists in some degree. I just can't see it.
Well, that's actually really good to hear. I'm actually encouraged by those words. Now, in this whole case, there's been a few things that have made headlines. I know that the media is really largely being quiet about it until there's something that's noteworthy. We heard about Zexi Lee and her being brought in to testify, and then I suppose she contradicted her own testimony from the POEC at that. This is what's being said, that her words didn't match what she had said about the circumstances at the time, and then also she left crying. This is a noteworthy thing. As well as recently we heard that the charges for breach of bail have been dropped for Tamara Lich. Is there any other new updates that are happening in this case?
Again, the last couple of days have been spent in deep legal arguments that are well beyond my capacity. There's Stinchcombe, there's O'Connor, there's Gray, there's some other cases that the names I won't even try to pronounce, but there's a lot going on in there. But as for updates that we can just sink our teeth into, unfortunately, those are very few and far between right now. Zexi Lee was interesting testimony, I'll have to say. Greenspun lawyer for Tamara Lich really did excellent on cross-examination. I believe there was a couple of contradictions brought out. I'd have to really go study my notes and other things to determine what those are off the top of my head. I know that what stood out from her testimony to me was in the morning on her examination in chief, as I recall, which is with the Crown. She stated that somebody basically ran into her, where on cross she clarified that she was able to move out of the way. As best as I can recall, one thing I do 100% recall is she described an air raid siren among the devices making noises, and she said she never actually saw it. It was buried under a tarp in front of her building or somewhere in her building's area, and she even imitated the noise it made in the courtroom. I had trouble believing myself what I was witnessing, but no, it did happen. She did imitate that in there. So, and there was also an interesting exchange after the lunch break where Greenspan basically asked her, your lawyer was at the stand with you as soon as the judge reads all the witnesses a warning when we go on break. She asks them, she tells them, please do not speak to anyone about any of your evidence. And Greenspan basically said that one of her lawyers in the civil case was at the stand as soon as she was dismissed. Basically asked her what was she talking about with her, and then maybe 5 to 10 minutes outside, what did you talk about with her? And there was this huge argument between the Crown and everybody else, and it was a big mess. That lawyer was asked to leave the room while the arguments were made. So every step of the way, legal arguments left, right, and center, and there's been a lot of developments, but towards the big picture and the conclusion of this trial, not much progress at all.
Well, that sounds very encouraging, because we saw some of the dirty business that was happening during the POEC, and to hear that the judge is not standing for that kind of thing in her courtroom is very encouraging. So hopefully we can get a fair trial in this whole scenario.
Yeah, and just to reiterate quickly, with the questioning about what Zexi Lee was talking about with his attorney, with her attorney, there was never anything resolved there. Like, there was never anything declared untoward. It was just a questioning because the lawyer was with her near on the stand, and I think the court basically accepted that they were talking about something non-issue. But in regards to other things, like you said, yes, it's good to see that things are moving in a direction. They're moving for sure. Where they're moving is unclear. And again, the resolution's seeming farther and farther away. But I feel like the court is trying. The court is trying itself. The judge is trying. She's trying, as she says, to keep things on the rails. But as these legal arguments develop and then the legal parties are fighting every inch of this case, we just find ourselves into deeper and deeper legal rabbit holes, and fighting over things that, honestly, if the Crown just showed them these emails, they probably might not have anything, these current emails being debated about. There might be anything not extremely significant in them. It could be talk about lunch plans. We don't know, but that's the problem. We just don't know. And the defense argues that it should be entitled to know in case it is relevant to their clients, in case it is relevant to the fact that Officer Bach's phone was deleted, whatever it may be. Let the cards fall where they may. Like, why fight every single inch of this all the time in every way? It just delays things.
And the YouTube channel is PatriotSmoothie. You can go get your daily updates about this. Also, if you're on X or Twitter, as it used to be called, PatriotSmoothie, go give him a follow. Check him out. I got one more question before we head off here. Chris and Tamara, how are they holding out? Are they in good spirits?
Tamara, she's always smiling. She's always exuding positivity. I know it sounds weird, but she's got this aura of strength around her. She's always perfectly confident in her projection of how she's carrying herself. Chris, he's a funny guy. I know you've probably seen some of his videos. I mean, it gets to the point where earlier in the trial we were watching videos from the convoy, and one of the videos it's Chris, and he makes a joke, and the entire courtroom went up in laughter. So he's just got that charisma that carries. So the two of them very positive now. I'm sure deep down, they're frustrated with the process. I can't say for sure. I would be if my life was on suspension to be here, but overall they're not showing it. They're showing strength and positivity, which is it's really reassuring to see that from me.
Well, thanks again, PatriotSmoothie, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.